All right. So Representative Burlison said that he was speaking to a former special ops person. They talked to him about an encounter they had in the Middle East and how this thing that they encountered was evil, had a dark energy about it. And also that it definitely wasn't anything from some other country. It was otherworldly. That's the gist of what I got from this clip. So I'll play said clip, then we'll discuss it afterwards, and I'll get your thoughts on it. So let me play this clip, and you tell me what you guys think.
So
Tell
he's
me
not
more.
public, and he probably will never go public, but he served in special forces, he was in the field and was brought into a room and what he describes as a hovering black, um, again, it appears like it's three-dimensional or 3 meters in diameter, but this thing was blacker than black sphere that was floating, and it just gave this sense of just complete evil and darkness is the way he described it. That
Whoa.
he felt ill just being around it. He felt like there was just something really bad about it and didn't wanna go anywhere near it.
And was this at an aerospace facility or
Um, it was overseas.
it was
It was
overseas?
and you can imagine he's working during the time period in which we were in war. So you can imagine it's one of those locations, whether it's Iraq or Afghanistan.
Whoa. But it was in US possession or in
Yeah. Mhm.
and so we had captured it there?
Or that it was a tech that we have, I don't know.
It was maybe actually human technology or you think
It
genuinely non-human?
he absolutely knew that it was either derived from alien tech or that it was, that it was captured.
All right. I think that's pretty fascinating in general. Again, anytime Burleson is talking about this kind of stuff, I always find it fascinating because of where he was 3 years ago to the stuff that he is learning or he is continuously hearing about from other people. And what I mean by that, again, to reiterate it, this is the first time you're ever watching one of my videos, is that I've talked about Burleson and what he has said when he said, I hadn't really heard or anything to make me convinced that it was anything otherworldly or outside of other technologies. And he has consistently heard, again, whether it's James Fox, people James Fox have talked to, this guy he's talking about right now, Eric Davis, other people who've talked to him about alien tech. He uses this even at the end of the Jesse Michaels clip here. He talks about how this guy was convinced that it was alien tech. And he says that freely now. I think that Burleson has heard so much about that. He never openly states, Burleson, that he believes in aliens or he believes in otherworldly stuff. At least he doesn't say those particular words. Now, after all the people and all the things that he has heard talked about, I wouldn't be surprised if his stance has changed a bit. And I'd love to get someone to ask that question eventually to him. But nonetheless, what is being said here is the first thing that really brought merit to this clip. Because not only Burleson wouldn't just bring this up and say, oh, yeah, I talked to some guy who won't go on the record, but why would you even bring that up? I truly believe that there was a special forces person that they spoke to that said everything that he's saying here. Because Burleson's not saying, oh, this is what this guy said, and I'm buying it. He's saying, no, this is a special forces guy. When we were talking to him inside of the room, he described what was happening in the Middle East and talked about this thing that was just hovering above and the energy around it. He didn't want to go near it. And he described it in detail. And he said he was pretty damn convinced it wasn't any technology. He knew that it was otherworldly. I'm not saying that this is the guy said, I believe him. And he very well might. But he's smart in not saying it that particular way. He's just saying that a special forces guy that won't go on the record, and maybe this is also just because people can get frustrated with that, right? Like, why won't these people go on the record? We've talked about this already. The protection, other things, they want to stay anonymous. It makes sense. But, why come forward in the first place? Well, I think that this interview is an example of why come forward in the first place. Because if you have a representative out there having these interviews talking about the people that he's talked about without naming names and the stories that they have told, that serves a bit of your intent of what you want to try to do. So if it's okay, I can't go on the record. I will never go on the record. However, I'm going to tell people the things that I saw they can choose, if they leave my name out of it, the things that I have told them, they can do whatever they want with the information that I have given them. I told them where I was. I told them where I saw this. They have the assets to go and investigate it. I've done my part here. There you go. So it is beneficial, 100%. And when you look at the stuff that they are even discussing, because as Jesse Michaels asked, do you think that this is tech? Because Burlison kind of backtracks a second in this. He goes, I don't even know, what it was. And he's like, oh, so you think it could be another country? And he's like, well, he was convinced that it wasn't. He was convinced that it was definitely not other countries' tech or our tech. It was maybe captured tech that we had. That maybe it was ours that we had captured, but it was alien tech. So that's maybe where he was going with that. I'm not saying it wasn't ours. I'm just not telling you exactly how the hell we came across that technology or were able to make that kind of technology. Because if you listen to other previous interviews with reverse engineering and other things of that nature, so they want to keep getting conversations out there about this stuff because we've seen tons of videos inside of those, even the grainy footage things, that there have been a lot of footage from the Middle East. And this is still, it was funny because as I've told people, or you may or may not know, maybe people just know me from this channel. I never assume. I have another channel where I talk pop culture stuff, and that's primarily my main channel and what I do. But one of my long-term viewers over there had recently asked the question that I haven't really been getting a lot of lately. And it's usually from people who are novice in the topic or aren't really paying attention to it. And he said, like, hey, and he started with this question. He said, well, maybe I'm naive to it, but how come it's only the U.S. that only sees these things and only talks about it? And I was like, well, Bobby, let me tell you, that is certainly not the fact. There's tons of footage and tons of reports from the Middle East, Japan, Russia, China. There's tons of reports from it. It's just the fact that this is where we live, so we hear these things all of the time. And from what people say in reports is that for some reason we have become the world police when it's come to this particular topic in general, and when it's come to the gatekeeper side of it, it's been the U.S. Now, for what reasons that is, and if we'll ever find that out, I have no idea. But the Middle East stuff is not shocking to me because we've heard about this. We've heard about military, of other things that military that have been part of. You know how many, whether it's like Navy, Air Force, ground troops, do you know how many people have seen something in the skies that they have not reported on publicly because of fear of repercussion, losing their status in the military, breaking protocol, all these other things? Just think about the stuff that Ryan Graves had said and how long they were looking for protection. I mean, shit, man, even commercial pilots for the longest time weren't even allowed to report the things that they saw in the sky because this cuckoo person, why are they flying a plane? Now it's a lot less taboo. So this is interesting. And the idea, the last thing I want to cover before we call it a day here is the dark energy side of it and the use of the word evil, right? I always think that's a tricky thing. Look, I wasn't there. I didn't witness this. I could be standing next to that guy and say, you're 100% right. That felt weird. That energy felt weird. That energy felt dark. I didn't like it. It felt creepy. It felt evil. So who the hell am I to say whether or not that's not it? I just don't know if you saw it, I saw it, if we would get that same feel, or we'd just be scared out of our minds if we saw something we just couldn't explain. But the idea, because you always hear so many different things. If you hear from Stephen Greer, they're benevolent. If you hear from other people, they're eating humans and drinking their blood. There's just so many different reports and other things. And then there's people who go, "How are you guys even talking about this shit? This is something out of Star Trek, and it's all shit. What are you talking about?" And there's no significant answer yet. There's nothing. So it's all speculation. It's all potential. To one person who scrolls across this, sees the thumbnail, goes, "What the fuck is this guy talking about? He's talking about black orbs and evil thing and special ops, talking about seeing things flying in the sky. The hell is this guy smoking?" And that's still part of that old kind of taboo thing. When you really go down the rabbit hole here and more conversation about potential disclosure of now you have senators and other people and Congress people talking about these things and trying to get to the nitty gritty of it. And more interviews like this are coming out to talk about the conversations behind closed doors that they are having. Maybe it all adds up. What do you guys think? Put your thoughts in there. Let me know. I got to hear from you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll be back here, but I'm going to tell you about Ultra. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about Ultra. I'll do that, and then I'll see you here tomorrow. Bye. I've never been a nicotine guy, ever. Just haven't. I smoked in the past. Made me feel not good. Especially, I remember that was back in the day. Like, I started recently getting back into the gym about 1.5 years ago. And way back in the day when I did, I remember that was like during that week or two that I was smoking, having cigarettes. And I remember just not having the energy. I didn't have that great recovery time. I felt like I was on edge, and that was within like a week or two of smoking. So a lot of people do actually use nicotine for pre-workout, thinking that it's going to make their workouts and pumps better. And the reality is actually the complete opposite. Nicotine's actually detrimental to your workouts because it's a vasoconstrictor. It narrows your blood vessels and restricts oxygen delivery to muscles, which can directly counter the pump that you're looking for when you want to get out of your workout. So that's why, and I have been, my buddy who was relying on nicotine for a little bit, I introduced him to the Ultra pouches, and they really have been a complete game changer for his workouts and energy levels in general. When they came to sponsor the show, it was about, I don't know, I think it was about 3-4 months ago, and they really been working tremendously for him. They give instant focus, energy boosts. They use clinically proven nootropics and adaptogens to deliver immediate focus and smooth energy that lasts 1 to 2 hours. They're the perfect solution for the people who take their health seriously but want an energy boost. So even talking to my buddy about the pouches, immediately he said that he's getting so much better of a pump during the workouts with all the energy that he has. He didn't even know it was possible to feel this energized and focused without any nicotine or caffeine. So the one thing that he did tell me, which I loved, and I said, well, I'm going to tell people about that, is he's getting better sleep. He's just not great with the sleep, but nicotine pouches and caffeine, what they do is they spike your heart rate at night, which kill your body and your brain's ability to recover. So Ultra pouches, they have a shorter half-life than caffeine, so they won't disrupt your sleep. They have really cool flavors to it, too. They have cool mint, wintergreen, tropical, watermelon. It's awesome. So Ultra is the ultimate guilt-free pouch, delivering instant focus, mental clarity without nicotine or caffeine. New customers can use that code DTE, get 15% off at takeultra.com. That's takeultra.com for 15% off with that code DTE. And you're going to purchase it, and they're going to say, where'd you hear about us? You tell them that DTE sent you, support the show, and tell them that we sent you over there. Ultra.